going on YouTube? Warstorm here, coming at you guys in another video today. Today I've got something, I've been away for a while, but I'm doing something pretty quick, something kind of to get back in the groove, and then we'll have some more videos later this week. So with all that, today I'm going to be talking about a card called Paleozoic Dinomisc. This is a card that I've seen a lot of Salamangreat players playing, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it today, because I actually think it's got some pretty decent applications in some decks. So if you're unfamiliar with what Paleozoic Dinomisc does, it's essentially a power crept karma cut. Upon activation is a normal trap. You can discard a card to target a face-up monster, spell, or trap on the board, and on the opponent's side of the board, and banish it. And then it has the typical Paleozoic grave effect, where if you activate a trap, it'll special summon itself out of the graveyard. It's unaffected by monster effects. 1200 attack, 0 defense, treated as a monster. Pretty standard Paleozoic stuff. So why am I talking about this card? Well, there was an event, I believe it was last weekend, where a guy actually did top playing 3 Dinomisc in his list, in his Salamangreat list. Now, the reason he did this is, from what I can see, is it gave him ways to trigger Gazelle in the opponent's turn. That's a big thing in Salamangreats. And the difference between a card like Dinomisc and a card like, for example, Solemn Strike, is while Strike can deal with some things that Dinomisc can't, such as Ray and Solar are a couple examples. The thing is, Salamangreat already plays cards like Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, and maybe even Effect Veiler that deal with Solar, so like you don't really necessarily need to play, that's kind of where Dinomisc comes in, because it deals with some of the things that the deck, and it gives you a way to trigger Gazelle in the, by discarding a Salamangreat card that will trigger Gazelle in the opponent's turn, which will then proc Wolf, which will allow you to cycle things back. And on top of that, it also, with its grave effect, being able to summon itself back, it's one more way to summon a monster to Wolf's Point and trigger a Wolf's recycling effect, which is really good. And more ways to trigger that is always nice. But outside of Salamangreats, how is this card good? Well, the biggest thing is that, much like I said, while it is a power crept karma cut, the monster discarded via Dinomisc's effect isn't discarded for cost. While this isn't really super relevant in a lot of different decks, it can be relevant in, for example, Dark World effects will trigger when they're discarded off of your Dinomisc, and other effects that only will trigger when they're not discarded for cost will trigger. On top of that, Dinomisc also triggers danger monsters, Burning Abyss monsters, great example of things that trigger when discarded off of this. So the real question is, like, okay, why would I play Dinomisc over what I'm already playing in my deck? Well, the biggest thing with Dinomisc is that it can deal with more things than some of the other things you're playing in your deck. For example, you're probably playing Twin Twisters, or to deal with the back row, because most decks play back row in some form or fashion, minus Thunder Dragons now. Well, Dinomisc can deal with a lot of that back row, particularly at least if it's face up. The biggest targets that Dinomisc hits are Sky Striker, Mecha Module's multi-roll, and it also hits Orchestrated Babble, the field spell. The biggest thing is you're getting these out of the way, which means that your opponent cannot recycle them. Babble has a grave effect to add itself back to hand, and multi-roll can also be recycled by Akagari. So, and of course, the other standout point it has is being able to banish Colossus, but also in the Salamangreat mirror, you can actually, and against Salamangreats, it's very effective. You can banish, because of Balance, the Link 1's ability to protect your Salamangreat cards while it's in the graveyard, being able to banish the field spell, for example, can be very effective against the deck, because you're getting rid of the field spell, which of course causes them to burn more resources. It can also be very good at removing your opponent's Sunlight Wolf, which is pretty key in the Salamangreat mirror match. Getting rid of Sunlight Wolf is a great thing to do when you're playing against the deck. Being able to keep that off the field is really good. And the fact that it banishes means that those resources from all these decks, like most of the metagame in some form or fashion, can recur a lot of their resources out of the graveyard. That's where Dinomisc really shines. Now, what are the weaknesses of this card? Well, it doesn't really hit set back row. That's the biggest thing. It doesn't hit set back row, which means you'll probably still need to play cards like Twin Twister in your deck that also requires a discard. But if you're playing Dinomisc in your deck already, you can always swap out your main deck to Twin Twisters for your heavy Storm Dusters, and you'll be good to go. The other thing about Dinomisc is that it's it is a trap, which means, and it's not a counter trap, so things like Solemn Strike, for example, have more of a flexibility in what they can hit. And while it can ban, it is being a trap means it's not as effective as something, for example, a traditional hand trap or infinite impermanence can be more effective in some of those scenarios, meaning it's not a good top deck. So that's another thing about Dinomisc is it does have some, and you can argue that it's not as good as some of the other cards you could be playing in your deck, but I think Dinomisc is a pretty good card. So let me know down in the comment section below. Are you going to try Paleozoic Dinomiscus in your deck, see if it do you think it's good in the Salamangreat deck? Do you think it's something that's just a flash in the pan, something like a cute tech choice? Let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, I thank you guys for watching. Soarstorm, signing out.